store. It shows which, it's a list of orders, and you can see that when we drag in this list to Tableau, a new data source, and I think I have it as, yes. Okay, so you can see that when we take this list of orders in and drag it in, have all this information. What we want to focus on here is order ID. Just a quick walkthrough of the order ID. So here, let's take a look and see. Here we have 4,117 rows of data. And if you look at these, each individual order ID is unique. It ties out to an order date, person placing the order, the city that it went to, the country that it went to, region, and then this is the country, I guess, and this will be the state, or country and then state. Sorry, at the end here. And we have other information like ship mode, the segment, the ship date, all the information that we would need in a list of orders. And then let's take a look at order breakdown, because we're going to be tying these two together in Excel. In Tableau. Notice that they're on different sheets. And that's important because they aren't inherently linked, but they do have a unique identifier being order ID. And notice here we see some duplicates of order IDs. That's because this breaks out what's in the order, right? The products that are in the order, the cost, any discounts if there were any, what category they fall into, what subcategory they fall into, and how many. And then we also have the profit on these orders as well. All important information when we're coming up with dashboards, which we'll do in a later video. So now we have this loaded into Tableau. Now, let's also take order breakdown and drag that in. And you can do this. You also don't have to do it, but this is more just for explanation purposes right now. So what we did here is create a relationship. So Tableau has a data model where there's a logical layer for tables. And what we see right here on the screen, this is the logical layer. At the logical layer, there are tables connected with relationships. And relationships are something that you'll learn about more if you go like further on in data science. So we're not going to get too deep into it right now. We'll talk a little bit about joins, inner joins, outer joins. I'll talk through those at the end of this video before we get into the maps. So the question we need to answer right now is, how do we get a join in Tableau? Just how does it work? So to do that, we need to get to the physical layer of Tableau. So to do that, we're going to right click on this and we're going to remove it. We don't need it right now. So to get to the physical layer, we can hover over this, right, and look at this logical layer or logical table list of orders. Double click on this to see its physical table. So we double click, and now we are in the physical layer. And if we take order breakdown and drag it in, well, voila, we've created a join. So you see this Venn diagram of sorts. This is highlighting that we have a center join. Sorry, not a center join. It is an inner join is what we call this one. So now, so this is great, right? This is all we need. We see this, we know that we have the join. We can click X to get out of here, and we see it's listed. It's we have logical table list of orders, and then physical tables. We have both list of orders and order breakdown. So right here, I just want to sort of rename this. I think you can always get back to the logical layer by double clicking. Oh, what did I do here? List plus breakdown. This is just to keep everything clean so that we know what we're looking at. And so we close that out. If you double click, you can always get back to the logical layer. or to the physical layer from the logical layer. Sorry, I had to adjust positioning right there. So we are here, and now we have sales targets, which we don't need. That would be for the sales rep. We would have to do a different join there, which we don't need to get into for the purposes of this. So let's just talk through that. So that unique identifier, right? That we talked about in the Excel file, the order ID. Every order is tied to that, and that ID only exists for specific orders. So that allows us to link the data across many sheets, right? If this order ID were on 7, 8, 9 different sheets, we would be able to link them all together and have all of the data tie back to that. So if we look here now, if you look before, it would have been a lot messier, or a lot smaller of a list, right? So we have list of orders, order ID, BN. Let's look 7039, and if we look over here, should see another one, BN 7039, right? Same one, just linking two different sheets together. So that's great. And now, so we talked about how there are multiple rows, and that's great. And it's one thing I just want to highlight, because this will come up in real business cases, that like you need one unique identifier. You can't have multiple unique identifiers, right? That's why it's called unique. So when you're working with large sets of data, it might be a name, something that we've talked about. Names aren't the best because there can be duplicates, right? But you could group together a name with a birthday. That might be a little bit better. You could use a social security number. You could use something like, if you're in a hospital setting, a patient ID. Those would all be unique identifiers. All right. So now let's just quickly run over what an inner join. Oh no, I'll send out a sheet with that just to explain. You can read through that. It'll be difficult. I don't have the visual up. So what we did, to summarize, right? We're going to go to this sheet. Is Tableau looked for any instance where those order Ds aligned, and they pulled in the data to combine those files together. What that's done is create a new data structure, and moving forward, Tableau will be working with this join table for what we have. So I want to go ahead and I want to save this. I want to make sure that I save it, because we're going to be coming back to this. So I'm going to save this on my. You can save it wherever you want. I'm just saving it for quick reference. Tableau activity 2, because we already did one, right? Okay, so now I have this saved for myself for later. Now let's hop over to the sheet 1 if you haven't already, and take a look at the workspace. So you can see we have all of the column headers have been brought in to Tableau from Excel and joined together. And notice Tableau has separated them, right? We have order breakdown and the headers that were in there, and we have the list of orders and what was in there. So it's grouped together, but it is still separated out, so for easy navigation, so you know where to look. Intuitively, they're grouped together. So if that's confusing, don't worry about it. It gets easier the more you do it. So just continue practicing. If you've chosen a data set that has multiple sheets, great. You can practice with that. If not, go ahead and use this file and search for other similar files. Or if you're happen to be working in an office setting where you are able to get access to information like this, go ahead and see if you can use Tableau at your place of work and play around. So now I want to get into creating a map really quickly and talk through that. So we're going to be working with the map of Europe, right? And so we see country, city, state here. This is what we call a hierarchy. Now, in the past, I could remove it. I'm not going to, because we don't really need to build hierarchies anymore. But in the past with Tableau, it wasn't intelligent enough, or the coding wasn't there to be able to group these countries, cities, and states. You would have to build them together. And basically, if you had columns in Excel with headers of country, state, and city, they would be separated out. They wouldn't be grouped in a hierarchy. And you would basically just take them and drag and drop. So you would just say state onto country, city onto state, and boom, you have a hierarchy. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Tableau is extremely intelligent now, and we can just use the hierarchy that it gives us. It's a very accurate system. So um, let's just take a look at a couple of things. So if we drag country over, we get this map, and we can zoom in, we can zoom out. It's a map of the world, but it has the geographical data. And really, if we look, right, what's that based on? Well, that's just based on, where are we, list of orders? That's just based on this information here, right? Like text information, which is pretty amazing that it's able to understand where to go based on just some simple text. It has the city, the country, the state that we're in. Very impressive stuff, and amazing that we're really able to do that just based on text and not longitude or latitude. At least that's what I think. Amazing world we live in. So Tableau didn't used to be this smart, but now it is. So we don't need to spend time building those hierarchies. So we have this information. Let's hover over these. If we hover over, we get the country name, right? These little dots, and they're not giving us much detail, but we're able to see, yeah, that's more or less accurate. But what happens if we drag in the state? Well, see how all those other dots appeared? And so what would these states represent? Well, these states represent areas that were sold into by our company, right? So our company is sold to Galway, to Cork, to these different regions. Normandy, this would be what I think this would be where Paris is. This is center France. You know, all over the world we have these different oh, my cursor isn't letting me drag, so apologies. I'm gonna have to be zooming in and out. So that's for states, right? And then we can go into even more detail. We can drag in the city, and voila, it gets even more dense, right? We can see all these different cities that this company sold into all across. And then maybe we want to just really quickly take in a metric. Let's take in, I want to see profit. I want to see what's most profitable. So I can drag that in here. Let me maybe get rid of this. I want to remove my state. I want to remove my country because we don't really need all that information if we're drilling into the state level, right? Oh, I guess we do. Apologies there. Let's just throw in states, see. Or let's just throw in country, see which is most profitable. And so we see by country, we have different size bubbles. I think we could also drag in profit onto color. And now we get a little key here, a little indicator for what is the most profitable, what's the least profitable. We can see selling to Portugal, selling to Ireland, and selling to Denmark. Not very profitable for this company, but Germany, United Kingdom, France, fairly profitable, and a couple of other ones, Spain, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, you know, sort of middle of the run, bread and butter. Sweden's also very unprofitable, but which one's the worst? Is it? Oh, Sweden would be the least profitable, and you know, might be many reasons for that. We don't need to dig into that now. So the three pieces of geography that Tableau will recognize: country, state, city. It has the ability to recognize it automatically. Where you know you'll rarely run into cases where you need to build a hierarchy by yourself at this point, and really all it is in Tableau is a drag and drop. But you know, 10, 15 years ago, you weren't able to do this, or you know, even maybe 7 or 8 years ago, you weren't able to do this just automatically. So it's very simple, though. You would just be quite literally dragging and dropping on top of each other. So and then that is it for country, but showed you a little bit of how to use Tableau. Right, we went over adding color in the previous video, and in the next video, which will be posted by Saturday night. We'll get into building an actual dashboard using this data. So if you haven't saved it down, make sure you save this file. We're going to be working with the same data set to build our dashboard. We'll be building it based off the maps, and um, that will be a fun exercise to do. So I hope that this video was helpful for those of you using geographical data, and look forward to seeing you next week in class.